Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Toyless the Titles. My name is Justin Stevens, and I'm coming at you with a special Bathroom Breaks episode. This Bathroom Break episode is about Carson Wentz and his weapons. Before I get into that, I want to remind you, if you're watching this right now, then obviously you already know you can catch us on Facebook or YouTube because that's where you're watching. These are the bonus episodes, though. You can catch our main episodes on Podbean, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. So please make sure to check us out on all those and give us that like and those 5-star reviews. Don't forget the 5-star reviews can get you into the Frankenstank League for free. Also, the Patreon is something big that we've been pushing. These bathroom breaks, I tell you what, if you guys join the Patreon and then in the Patreon chat, if you want to mark down a special kind of a subject that you want us to cover on the bathroom breaks, either myself or one of the other guys will make sure that we handle that for you, and we'll give you all the content that you can handle. Obviously, we're called Toyless the Titles, so we don't mind being your bathroom fodder while you're on the John doing your noodles, okay? So we are going to move on here. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you would. Give us a little bit of a comment, again, if you have any questions or anything, and we will get back to them. 5-star review, Toyless the Titles. Across the bottoms, you'll see the scroll with all the guys and their Twitter handles is everybody that's on the Toyless the Titles team currently. And I believe that's it, but I do want to give a special little shout out here to FusionFFB.com because this episode was brought on because of the chat in the Fusion FFB chat group that I'm in. It has inspired me to come to the defense of Carson Wentz and especially Michael Pittman, but I'll get to all that in just a moment. So I think that's pretty much it for now. So I'm just going to jump right into it. Carson Wentz and his weapons. I wrote all this down. It's kind of long. I'm hoping to knock it out as quickly as possible. We like these bathroom breaks to be about 5 minutes, but I'm pretty passionate about the Colts, and that particular chat had me going. So here it is. Carson Wentz. Let's take a look at his career first. In 2016, it was his rookie season. He still had 3,800 yards. He finished one game under 500, but he also had the 12th ranked offensive line in the league. So a mediocre offensive line, mediocre win-loss record, still had 3,800 yards, and showed that he was a pretty decent quarterback. Everybody was excited about the 2017 season and what he could do for the Eagles. What happened in 2017? Well, he went 11-2 as a starter. He had a 10-game win streak. He had 9 comeback wins in the fourth quarter, which is when the defense knows you're going to throw the damn ball. And he still made comebacks. And he did all this with an offensive line that was ranked number 1 overall late in the season, according to PFF.com. They didn't start off number 1, but they were consistently really good, like top 5 all season. And then by the end of the season, they were ranked number 1 because they stayed healthy. So with a really good offensive line and a pretty darn good, capable quarterback, he had an incredible season. 2018 was his most injury-plagued year. He only played 11 games. He finished a half a game below 500. The offensive line still considered to be top 5. So this really was kind of a lost season for him in that it was a good offensive line, but he was so injured all season that it's kind of expected that you're not going to play to your best ability. But even with that top 5 offensive line, this is kind of when that offensive line started to break down and the wheels started coming off the track. In 2019, he played all 16 games. He only finished one game above 500 for the entire season. But you got to remember, if you look back, for one, the offensive line was projected to be number 1 overall, according to PFF.com. But by the end of the season, the best rank I could find online was from 4for4.com. They had them ranked 13th overall by the end of the season, and that was the best rank I could find for them. So again, mediocre offensive line, mediocre win-loss record. But if you think about it this way, that defense, if you remember back in 2019, that defense was absolutely depleted. They had a ton of IRs across the board on that defense. And that put their offense in a bad position all season. But Wentz still finished with over 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions. Okay. Keep in mind, that was his 4th year. So, This is where defenses have plenty of game film on a guy. Defenses know how a guy's going to play. They know his tendencies. He still only had 3 interceptions when he was put in bad positions on the offense all season. So he's a pretty good quarterback, guys. I don't understand the hate here. Anyway, in 16 games last season, the Eagles had to use 14 different lineups along the starting offensive line. 14 different lineups in 16 games. It was a horrible, depleted offensive line. They sucked. They were bad. He still somehow lasted 12 games. And he did almost have just as many interceptions as he did touchdowns. I'll give you that. And it was his worst numbers across the board in almost any category of his career. But he was also sacked 50 times. He was sacked 50 times. That is unbelievable. You don't go from being the quarterback that you were in 2019 to getting sacked 50 times the next season. Like, you don't just all of a sudden automatically suck, okay? Carson Wentz does not suck. He's pretty decent. And the guys in the Fusion chat, to your credit, you weren't saying that Carson Wentz sucks. I get that. Again, I'm going to get to that Michael Pittman point here in just a bit. But I just want to show you guys that this guy is perfectly capable. That offensive line ended the season ranked 19th overall last season, but that was only because Jason Kelsey's rank as the third best run blocking center in the league really helped that overall ranking for the Eagles. So they still finished, below the halfway mark, and passing blocking wise, they were way below that. So meanwhile, let's take a look at the Colts offensive line. Let's see what kind of weapons on that offensive line that Carson Wentz is going to be working with. Let's see. The Colts had the 7th ranked offensive line last season, and that was despite having several injuries on that offensive line late in the season. So they were so good throughout most of the season that even with all those injuries, they still held up a top 7 overall rank. Braden Smith returns at right tackle after starting 43 games in his 3-year career, and he made the Pro Football Writers Association all-rookie team his rookie season. Right guard Mark Glowinski returns with 60 NFL starts under his belt. Center Ryan Kelly has 66 games in his short NFL career with the Colts. He's made 2 Pro Bowls the last 2 years and second-team All-Pro last year. There's a pretty good chance that this man's going to wind up being a Hall of Famer one day. The other guy to his left, at left guard, Quentin Nelson, is going to be a Hall of Famer one day if he can at least stay healthy throughout most of his career. And so far, he's done just that. He started 48 games, and he's made 3 Pro Bowls and selected as a first-team All-Pro 3 times as a lineman in the NFL. He was also given the Pro Football Writers Association All-Rookie Team recipient his rookie season. The Colts did lose longtime left tackle Anthony Costanzo. He started an incredible 144 games over his 9-year career. That'll be a tough hole to fill, but they have plenty of options ready to shine. And there's even still talk that maybe that left guard, Quentin Nelson, that All-American, All-Pro, All-Madden, everything, could easily move to left tackle if they need it. Paris Campbell. Let's talk about Paris Campbell a little bit, because some of you have forgotten about Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell did have a late breakout age of 21 at Ohio State. That's kind of going against him. I get that. But he did come into the pros as one of the fastest men alive. He is going to be like Carson Wentz equivalent, the Philly equivalent of Deshaun Jackson. Unfortunately, he's also injured like Deshaun Jackson as well. After missing most of his rookie season to 3 different injuries, he went down in week 2 of last season with an MCL and PCL strain. I typically say with an ACL injury, that full calendar year, everybody thinks, okay, they're back, they're healthy, let's go. They go get them, and then they play sluggish, and you give up on them. All right, so when a guy comes back from an ACL injury, the best time to get him is right after he gets back, that first month when he plays like crap, because he's still not up to game speed yet. Then you can get him for cheap in fantasy football. We're not talking fantasy football so much, but I'm trying to make a comparison here. After several more months, then they start to pick it up a little bit. But with Campbell, it was an MCL and PCL sprain, not an ACL. A little bit different, a little bit easier to come by. And given about 100% clearance to return to 100% full action on the field. So he's already been out there and putting in the work. So there's a really good chance that by the time the season starts, he's already going to be ready to roll to 100%. We just got to hope he stays healthy. Luckily, he's been positive this entire offseason. And even today, he posted on Twitter, "Don't be surprised. This was God's plan all along." This man is ready to stretch the field for Carson Wentz. T.Y. Hilton had only 3 games last season where he had more than 80 yards and only 5 touchdowns. All of this came in the final 1/3 of the season. Phillip Rivers played like crap to start the season, and it clearly negatively affected T.Y. By the time Rivers started to come around and Hilton was able to use his veteran ability to overcome Rivers' shortcomings, he was able to still show that he had some gas left in the tank. Now, as I said before, this entire episode was brought to you in part by my interaction with the guys at the Fusion Fantasy Football Chat. They were given all kinds of player comps as to why they were giving me all kinds of player comps as to why Michael Pittman Jr. is not going to be a good wide receiver 1 in the NFL. Okay. They didn't say anything about fantasy to their credit. They didn't say anything about Carson Wentz necessarily, more so as he wasn't going to help Carson Wentz become better because they didn't think he was going to be a good wide receiver 1. First off, we still don't totally know that he's going to take over for T.Y. Hilton, although we all kind of assume that's going to happen, maybe even as soon as this season. But if you guys all like player comp so much, I went to playerprofiler.com and I took a look at who they had down as his best player comp. If you like college comps and you like rookie comps and you like stats, his best player comp to this point has been Dwayne Bowe. Okay. I don't know if y'all remember Dwayne Bowe or not. I remember Dwayne Bowe because I'm old school fantasy football. I had a team name called Taste Dwayne Bowe. So I mean, I go back that far. But Bowe's second season saw over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. Guys, his quarterbacks were Brodie Croyle, Tyler Thigpen, and Damon Huard at quarterback. Brodie Croyle, Tyler Thigpen, and Damon Huard. Like, how many of you really remember watching these guys play? You're probably a Chiefs fan, and you probably hate that I even brought it up, okay? Pittman has a much better line this year and a much better quarterback than Dwayne Bowe did that year and throughout most of Dwayne Bowe's career, for that matter. He's going to be fine, people. He's going to be good. He's going to be a decent in fantasy football. He's going to be a decent wide receiver 2 most of his career. He's going to have some wide receiver 1 seasons. Don't give up on him. And if you do, send him my way. Jack Doyle and Mo-Alie-Cox aren't exactly world beaters at the tight end position. That scares me more than anything else on this Colts offense, I'll be honest with you. Carson Wentz absolutely loved his tight ends in Philly, but he also had some pretty damn good tight ends as well. If you have 2 meatloafs in front of me right now and one of them is homemade a meatloaf like grandma used to make, I'm probably going to like meatloaf, right? But if you have a meatloaf from those MRE meals ready to eat bags in the military, I'm probably not going to really like meatloaf, right? So Wentz likely isn't going to love his tight ends here in Indy like he did in Philly, but he will enjoy those outside weapons and that run game in Indy far better than he ever enjoyed them in Philly. Let's speak of that run game a little bit. I just got a couple of things here. Nothing big. I'm almost done. I'm already probably well over time. But Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, and Marlon Mack. Enough said. I know Marlon Mack is coming off of that Achilles injury, but we're not even going to need him. With Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines, the Colts are not going to need Marlon Mack. But if they do need him, he's a 1,000-yard rusher in the bag, ready to go off the bench. He'll be good. Closer towards the end of the season, everything will be fine. Just another weapon in the arsenal for Carson. I would definitely take any of them well over any of the performances that Wentz got from his running backs in Philly. And for those of you that don't remember, Ryan Matthews, Darren Sproles, LeGarrette Blount, Jay Ajayi, all of those guys, some of them had decent years with other teams. So you might think, well, those are some decent names. But if you look at those names in the years that they played for Philly, they did not have decent seasons. They didn't even have good seasons. The best season that Carson got from a running back was last season with Miles Sanders, and he underperformed to what people expected. And that's because that offensive line sucked so bad. All right. But that's pretty much all I have for you right now. I know we have the Colts off-season breakdown show coming up on Father's Day. Actually, I believe 7 or 8 p.m. So we've got some guys coming on that want to talk strictly solely about the Indianapolis Colts. So they're going to get a lot more in depth and more in detail with the overall team. But I was just fired up. I'm not going to get a chance to talk very much during that Colts episode because I'm going to let the guest handle that. But I had to get this part out there. I had to get it off my chest. But like I said, just a few things here. Patreon.com/toilets and if you help us out, you get in that group chat, and if you want us to go over any particular subject during a bathroom breaks episode, we'll take care of you. Give us that 5-star review. Help us out. Appreciate y'all. Have a good night.